All right, welcome back for episode 3 of the crap. I forgot the name again. It's the Mapping Drama Archives. All right, so in this one, we're kind of continuing off on the last episode. So if you haven't seen that, you're definitely going to want to go back and watch it because that one's context is going to be important for the understanding this one. As you can see, this is the last episode's veto that I still have up, so you can view that at your leisure. So anyway, this one is sort of the continuation. So about to set the stage, sort of, right? Sotarks and Armin made this set, so Sotark's repetition rather, on Start Again by One OK Rock. And so this one was ranked late of 2019. And then about 8 months later, if my math is right, some amount later, we ended up with another Start Again, this time mapped by Fall. And if you notice, this time it has repetition and Sotark's true repetition. So clearly it is designed to be some kind of pay homage, or that word is not correct, but my pronunciation, I should say, is not correct. But it's obviously supposed to refer back to this set in particular. Now, if we look at the actual maps, you'll find that they are effectively, basically the same thing. My effects volume's too loud. So, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And then on this one, it's basically the same thing. It's just a little harder. So, anyway, this kind of comes back to that previous video where we talked about sort of this sort of building of this tension around this idea of content bloat and how there's now a growing segment of the community, particularly among the NAT of the era, that did not want this kind of content bloat, because effectively what you're doing is you're adding a whole bunch of difficulties that are all the same thing, and then you're going to end up with leaderboards that are full of everyone with those exact scores. Everyone has to play those in order to keep up in rank, et cetera, et cetera. So it's sort of, some people viewed it as potentially something that would kill the player base effectively, right? It would result in the game dying or becoming less popular, or the overall quality of the game and the mapping scene degrading. Now, how valid are those concerns? That's up to you to decide, right? But I'm just saying that's kind of what the concerns were at the time. As you can see in the last video, or in the... Where did it even go? But anyway, so that's that. Then we had this set here, and Kibbleru in particular took issue with Nymph Extreme, which is not going to be on the ranked version of that happened in 2024. So this set was re-uploaded, it was deleted, so that you can't actually see the original veto for this. But the set was deleted and it was re-uploaded like 4 years later, and it is now ranked in a different sort of state. I don't know what the differences are. I don't have access to this original map, but this is that veto, and this is a very popular copy pasta. I'm sure you've seen it before. Oh man, how do I even start here? This map sums up the entirety of the problems in the current BN system. Low quality maps that get ranked because there's technically nothing wrong with them, and in a perfect world, nobody with a conscious mind will willingly push these kinds of maps forward. So yeah, in particular, it was Nymphs Extreme that was the worst part of it, according to Kib, and he basically put his foot down and was like, it needs major reworking, or it must be removed in order to be resolved. So And there was 17 other extras anyway, so it's kind of irrelevant if it gets removed. It doesn't matter. There was so much of the same exact thing. So, yeah, that's kind of this veto. As you can see, overwhelmingly positive upvotes. Actually, I take that back. This is the era of discussions where only BNs could downvote. So this doesn't really necessarily show general community sentiment amazingly, these older vetoes, because it only shows upvotes from BNs at the time, right? People who were BNs or GMT at the time could downvote. Any user could upvote. So it ends up sort of looking more one-sided than it necessarily is. I won't show the actual discussion because obviously it is now gone. And I can also see deleted comments, and I don't want to bring those out. So yeah, that's that. What was really significant about this one, though, so like the previous veto we talked about on Just a Dice, this was sort of setting the stage for the Start Again veto. But what's significant about the Start Again veto is that things actually changed as a result of it, right? As a result of this, 5 BNs got kicked. 5. All at once. Same day, they all got kicked. And for very similar reasons. Only Smoke and Aika had to do with Start Again. They were the nominators for Start Again. But all the other BNs got kicked for low-quality nominations, content bloat type of concerns. And they had been given feedback. At this time, the NAT cared a lot about the quality of the nominations that they push out. This is not the case today. We do not police the quality of the nominations of our BNs, but at the time, the NAT did in 2020. So there was a change in policy in that regard. So yeah, huge amount of BNs getting kicked all at once. And as a result of this, there was definitely a notable shift in the BNG where not only were a lot of the BNs pushing the low-quality nominations now kicked, so there was less of those, but BNs were now somewhat scared to push these kinds of swap sets for quite a while until the subjectivity went away, right? The NAT publicly announced that we were no longer enforcing subjectivity concerns or like beatmap quality type of things, and then the sort of the slop came back a little bit more. People became less concerned about it, but there was definitely now a newfound fear among the BNs to avoid nominating really egregious sets like this that are clearly trying to sort of abuse the system. And here's Aika's tweet where he showed the evaluation that he received from the NAT, and of course all these will be in the description. In particular, the NAT didn't like the sort of laissez-faire, if I get kicked, I just rejoin and it doesn't matter, so I'm just going to nominate a bunch of garbage, right? And they didn't like that attitude. Obviously, Aika made huge improvements in that attitude. He was an NAT for quite a while. Just like 2 or 3 years after this happened, he became NAT himself. So there was definitely improvement there, but at the time, he had a very quality is not a concern in the ranked section sort of attitude. As a result of this, literally 4 days after this veto, 4 days, they made an announcement saying that in the BN server, they made an internal announcement saying that they had compiled a list of basic expectations. The NAT had compiled a list of basic expectations for beatmap nominators. And this is the final iteration of those expectations, and this is available on the osu wiki. Everyone has seen this. Well, everyone hopefully will have seen this before. But some basic things like act with the community's best interests at heart, and the best interests at heart may not be nominating a whole bunch of garbage, right? Do not exploit or abuse existing systems. At the time, this type of the type of mapping and the spread there was clearly designed to maximize the PP at the time. And the PP system has changed several times since, so this kind of mapping is not necessarily completely overweighted like it used to be, but it used to be really bad back then. You have to be civil, you have to mod regularly, you have to be approachable, you have to promote variety, so you can't nominate only slop, right, if you're going to nominate slop. And you have to keep improving. You have to have that mentality to continue improving. So they came up with these expectations, and as a result, I think we haven't had as much drama associated with some of these direct abuses of the system. And it gives the NAT some easier methods to remove problematic individuals in the event that they are, say, acting against the best interests, but there isn't really a necessarily direct way we can get them. So this kind of gives the NAT a little bit more flexibility in how they do it. Now, I will say that likely, depending on who you ask, there was maybe a bit of an overcorrection away from the kind of beat maps that we had at the time, the Sotark's repetition type of thing. And that was seen in this new, 2022, this Reddit thread got quite a bit of traction, 200 comments on a Reddit thread, like Jesus. Basically saying that there, is a notable decrease in the number of slop farm, jumpy farm, as they called it at the time. The whole slop, term hadn't really come out, become common use until probably 2024. So yeah, there's a bunch of stuff here. There's a lot of great points that Zexar nerfed the type of mapping there, or the other PP developers there nerfed the weighting of those maps. There was definitely a shift in sort of BN priorities and NAT priorities there. But there's also a lot of people here showing or clearly stating that even though the sort of mega farm sets became less popular, it didn't mean that they actually went away. They just became less popular, right? They became less front page news whenever they got ranked. And instead, they were just kind of there. They didn't gain the traction that they used to, in particular because the PP system changed, right? It no longer overweighted them. So if you're still into this kind of mapping, the start again, 10K rock type of thing, the jump farm, then it's still there. And they're still getting ranked every single day almost, right? But it's just less. You have to play this, or you're not going to be able to keep up in the rankings effectively. So it's still there for people who enjoy it. Yeah, I don't really want to get into my own opinions on it necessarily, but hopefully this takes a relatively unbiased view on the matter. Again, 5 BNs got kicked. It definitely had major sort of lasting effects, and we'll probably in future episodes we'll get into some of those later term effects of this. What changed that allowed the return of a lot of these kinds of sets that we've seen in the last couple years. For crying out loud, this whole set got re-uploaded and ranked in the last 1 to 2 years. So clearly things have changed. So yeah, hopefully you learned something there.